It is hard across the board in the best way. But I think that's the thing, is that we have to tell ourselves, it is hard, but there's a purpose to this. Because when we just focus on this is so hard, yeah, we're never going to last in this. But it's hard because I love these families so much and I need them to know that I love them. I love my students so much and I need them to know that I believe in them and I can see them doing this. That's why it's so hard and why we take it on. And if we shift our mindsets and really focus on, okay, it's hard, but here's what I can do. It's hard and I can do this for my kids. It can be both.
Welcome to Oxygen for Educators, part of the Ripple Maker Project. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle Kinder, and you'll meet Chris Kent Phelps in just a bit. It's our hope to bring you thought-provoking, unscripted conversations full of actionable ideas to fuel your important work in the world. Thanks for tuning in. This space is for you. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I feel like we open with that every single time.
I think you probably could do like just a montage of us sounding like big old dorks over and over and over again, and you'd have plenty of material.
Moving on.
This is an exciting episode, which I think I also say a lot, but I genuinely mean it every time. And folks are going to get to meet Amanda Carroll. And we've known Amanda for some time, but I feel like I know her and understand her and appreciate her so much more after this interview. And I was scanning my brain for all the leaders I know and have known. And if there's another person that I think understands at a bone marrow level psychological safety better than she does, and I don't know if I can come up with someone.
Oh, wow. What a compliment.
I'm serious. It's just so deep in her.
I also felt like in retrospect, I don't think I've actually been physically in a room with her that many times, maybe only once or twice. But every interaction I've had with her, including watching that interview, she just gets better and better and better and deeper and deeper. So I thoroughly enjoyed y'all's conversation.
Well, for Amanda's ears, I got several texts from Chris while she was listening about how obsessed and in love she is with Amanda. And I am too. So we can both join the cult and follow her wherever she goes.
There'll be more discussion about this cult during the interview, but let me go ahead and give her bio. Amanda Carroll is the Elementary Counseling and District 504 Coordinator for Mesquite ISD in Mesquite, Texas. She's been in education for 17 years, which shocked me. That she's so young looking. She's been a teacher in the classroom, also an elementary school counselor. And for the last 4 years, she's been serving in the district leadership role that she talks about on the podcast. I loved your term that she's the caregiver of caregivers. I think she wears that very well and was clearly born to do that. She's passionate about supporting the whole child with a strong focus on emotional regulation, which we know to be true from her advocacy of Tacky Box and Mesquite ISD. Also student advocacy and building meaningful relationships with families, which she speaks to in the podcast. And in her bio, she mentions, which we also know to be true, that she believes connection is at the heart of student success and is committed to creating systems and supports that help every child and family thrive. And I observed in your interview that she clearly believes connection is the key to serving the adults in the building as well. And she does that very well. So she's the perfect guest for us. I'd also like to be the first to announce that she'll one day be Senator Carroll, which you'll learn about on the podcast. And I also thought it was interesting just having listened to your Radical Hope episode about building your support web. I felt like for all those educators in Mesquite ISD that get to add her to theirs, how lucky are they?
Wow.
And I have a feeling they know that. What a great resource she is.
Love it. Well, let's listen, and then we'll be back on the other side to talk about what we learned.
Okay, let's do it.
Hello, Amanda.
Michelle.
This is so long time in the making, and you're here. And I'm so happy that we get to learn from you and get to know you and all the things.
Yes, me too. I mean, I'm so excited. I'm so glad I feel like finally worked out. It's been, a long time coming. So I'm so excited.
When I think about you, I think of caregiver of the caregivers. And I really want to understand what that means and what that looks like and how you approach it. But before we get into some of those questions, tell us your story.
Okay. Well, I'll kind of just give a brief overview of all of it. So my whole life, so I'm from Louisiana, very proud Louisianian. We just got past Mardi Gras and best season of the year. And I grew up, I have an identical twin sister who also is a school counselor, which is really amazing.
What?
I know, really, it's like my fun fact for anything that we do.
That's a
elementary
really
school counselor
good fun
in Louisiana.
fact.
I know, I think so too. And then I have a little sister, but my dad and my mom, but my dad raised us to be leaders. Like that is what he always wanted us to be. And some of the things, he has like all these little my dad-isms kind of things, but he encouraged us to be leaders, but kind leaders. And I remember him talking to us about being kind to everyone. You need to be kind to everyone. He said, because kindness gets you far. And he also would say, kindness gets you far and you never know who you're going to need and you never know who's going to need you. And so we were always just kind to everyone. And it sounds funny. It's a natural thing in my mind to do it. But you just never, it's amazing what has come from that, where people will come to us for help. I'm able to go to anyone and they are happy to help us. So that's how my whole life was. Went to LSU, graduated, and just thought, I'm just going to go live in Dallas. And I have been here. This is my 17th year out here in DFW. I taught for 5 years. I taught first grade my first year, and then second grade, and then I taught third grade. I kept looping my kids with me, which is the greatest thing in the world. And I would tell any teacher, if they have the opportunity to loop a class, to loop a class. It was amazing. And this was not, speaking of looping with kids who were just always perfect behaved. It was, I've worked so hard with these kiddos and I just wanted to take them with me. So I made sure to ask specifically for those kids to come with me, and my principal let me loop with them. So I did. I looped first to second grade, stayed in second, looped them to third, stayed in third. The plan was to loop to fourth, and then I got a counseling job, which is interesting because I graduated with my master's in counseling in 2014 and was like, I'm going to stay in the classroom for another, who knows how long. I loved teaching, still do. And my principal was the one who said, I really think you could make a bigger impact on a campus. She said, you're doing such a good job within our own campus and within your four walls, and I think you should just try. And so I thought, okay. So I applied to get in the pool, got in the pool of counselors back when we used to have a counseling pool. And then, I went on an interview and got called the next morning, and I was the counselor at Gray Elementary in Mesquite for 8 years. And it was the greatest experience for me. And, I still look on those years just so fondly. I had the best administrators and the best teachers and the best kids. And we have so many things I've talked to really y'all about, just like some of the things we've done over the years in the past there. And it's just, you get to see your mission field just lived out in a whole campus. And then after that, this position opened up and I applied for it. And now I get to work with every counselor in our whole district. I primarily work with our elementary. I'm the elementary counseling coordinator in Mesquite ISD. So I work with our 37 elementary counselors, but because of me also being the District 504 coordinator, I really work with 300 other case managers helping serve our kiddos with disabilities, ADHD, asthma, anxiety, things like that. And then, so I get to work with all levels, and it's been really amazing to get to work with principals and instructional coaches as well as counselors and be that voice and that help for them. And really best serve our kids kind of in a whole wraparound service way. So not only their mental health, but then I can tie that mental health, like how can we best serve our kids with ADHD or with a disability? How can we tie that in? And so while we don't always love to be like, 504 in counseling. And yes, we have a great system here in Mesquite where our counselors do our mental health 504s. To be able to provide wraparound services for all of our kids is vital to me. And I get to play a part in that for everyone who serves our kids. So This is my 4th year I've been doing this role, and it has been wonderful. I get to go see counselors, teach their guidance lessons. I get to advocate for counselors and talk to their administrators with them, and even beyond that, I get to go advocate at the Capitol for our counselors and have senators come to us. And it's just been an incredible way of just pushing our career field ahead and really showing the importance of mental health. And I work with amazing people. Christy Davis, our director of counseling, and I are just a really great team. Tom Edwards is also our coordinator over at our care clinic. And just working with that team and making a difference in this way has been really life altering. And then we get to work with so many counselors, over 100 counselors and social workers that we have in Mesquite, 140, I think. So really great. Anyway, so I know I talked for a really long time, but there's a little rundown of everything.
I'm glad you did, because that scope is even bigger than I realized in terms of how many adults you're supporting who hold tremendous responsibility for supporting the adults on their campuses, all the kids, by extension, the parents and the community. So tell me about that. Like, what is the heart work when you're the caregiver of caregivers?
So it's such a good question. I feel like it's such like I could really probably sit forever and think like, okay, what does that look like? Because sometimes I think things come naturally to a lot of us, right? So I do think I am a natural caregiver, and I love to form relationships with people, which is always how my leadership style has been. I am all about connection, and really even when I'm working with administrators or counselors and they're maybe struggling to connect with each other, I can form that relationship with each of them and then bring them together. So for me, it's always been about relationships. I feel that way with families. I feel that way with students. I feel that way with our counselors. I feel that way with our administrators. I want to be that person that people are comfortable coming to, even with hard questions. And I'm always going to come alongside them the best way I can and come up with an answer, something that I don't like. Even if the answer is, I don't know, let me figure that out. Let me look that up for you. One of my pet peeves is I don't know, and then ending there. I think if you want to be a good, like, servant-hearted leader, or even leader in general, you can say, I don't know, but let me figure that out for you. Let me see what I can do. Who can I contact? Because we always want to be that person. So that's kind of the caregiver of caregiver side that I try to do is, what can I do? Not, I can't do that. And so that's been kind of my field, is coming alongside people and figuring out the best way that I can serve them and whatever I can do. So.
Your dad did you such a favor.
Oh, yes.
Just like kind of infusing that lens and that understanding of that leadership grounded in kindness and service. And he must be so proud of you.
Yes. And he is. And he tells us that all the time. He always is like thinking about the next step for us. Like, he's like, okay, great. Like, so what else can you do? How can you take this gift that you have and take it to the next level? And he's just always been that way. I was talking to my mom yesterday about my dad, and I was like, Dad just will never retire. And he would just, it would like drive him insane. But I love that, because he's always just wanting to better himself, better those around him. It worked great for me and my sisters, because we always are looking to see, like, what can we do? My dad always used to tell us too, when he would sign something for us, like field trip or whatever, he'd sign it and say, like, that's going to be worth a lot of money one day. And so I like to tell people when I sign things, I'm like, that'll be worth a lot of money one day. And it's just this funny aside that, like, I've been able to use, and it sounds so silly, but like when I'm in like tenser situations or I need to sign something, when you say something like that, it just like cuts the tension. Everyone laughs. And it's just this little way I'm able to like get through that. And that's something else my dad did. And so I'm really proud to be his daughter, of course. But it's really fun it's amazing to have a dad who also speaks that into us, like that he's so proud and he always, expects great things from us. And so I think that's super powerful to have parents who do that for us. So
I have some inside scoop into how much you're carrying in your job. And I know it's a lot. And I know you deal with very, very hard things in rapid cycle. being on screen with you right now, your countenance, your presence, your posture, no one would know how much is on you. And I'm trying to like get my head around that. So I'm like, is it because of how you lead from that place of connection, or like what is it that allows you to hold what you hold and still kind of feel light and bright? And am I making this up?
No, honestly, that means a whole lot to me that you even say that, and that's kind of how you're perceiving this, because that's how I feel. That's how I want to come across. And I never want to feel like, again, because my scope is so large, because of the amount of people I work with, my phone is always ringing, my email is always going. And so, but I never want someone to feel like they're a burden if they're calling me to ask me a question. Like I always say like, oh, absolutely. Call me anytime. Let me know how you can help, how I can help. Because I really feel that way. I want that to come across. So for you to say that means a lot, because I feel like that's what I try to do. And I do think that relationship side that I try to lead from does lend to that. And truly, I mean, to be very candid, my faith plays a huge part in that. So for me, I spend time in the Word every morning, and I am very intentional with that. Really, it's about 30 minutes, but every morning, at least my first 15 minutes is spent with the Lord, and then my last 5 minutes of the day. So those things to me are what keep me grounded in knowing what's important and how I can best serve. So really all of that put together is what kind of keeps me grounded. And I also work with amazing people. So I've been telling people, we all know this, but we always say like, people don't typically leave jobs, they leave leaders. And so my job is like, in my mind, I'm always thinking the job is hard. Education is hard. Counseling is hard. But if we can provide that support and they love working with us as leaders, then we can keep our counselors in place. We can keep our teachers in place. So I work with great leaders, and they keep me loving this job too. So really all three of those things, relationships, the people I work with, and then my faith, are the three things that kind of can keep me having a good outlook on life.
Yeah, I buy it. I buy what you're selling. And I hear that like deep connection to meaning and purpose fueling you and keeping you in that light and bright space despite the heaviness of what you carry. And I also hear the commitment to operationalizing what feeds you. So in your case, it's your relationship with God and reading the Bible. Someone else, it might be something entirely different, but
Absolutely. It's finding that thing. Yeah. That always keeps you grounded, that always keeps you anchored.
Yeah.
Because especially in these roles, in anything with education, it's very heavy. And, it's interesting because like I mentioned, my twin sister, she works in a private Christian school, and then I work in a, suburban urban public school district. And it's crazy to me when we talk, there's so many similarities, so I think sometimes people have this perspective of, oh, well, that's easier or this is harder. And to me, while I can agree with that to an extent of some things, I think when you are in this field, there are hard days for everybody, because you're taking on so much of something else. So you're taking on students, you're taking on families. How can I best serve? What can I do? So to me, it's hard everywhere. So when I think about people listening to this, in any type of field at all, especially of course our educators, which is who we want to be listening to this, right? It is hard across the board in the best way. But I think that's the thing, is that we have to tell ourselves, it is hard, but there's a purpose to this. There is a reward. We may not see it. Because when we just focus on this is so hard, we're never going to last in this. But it's hard because I love these families so much, and I need them to know that I love them. I love my students so much, and I need them to know that I believe in them and I can see them doing this. That's why it's so hard and why we take it on. And if we shift our mindsets and really focus on, okay, it's hard, but here's what I can do. It's hard, and I can do this for my kids. It can be both. And so for me, I typically am like, it's hard and I'm struggling and it really kind of keeps me in a good headspace. So
I have the answer to your dad's question of what's next.
Okay.
Cult
What is
leader.
next? Oh gosh. Okay, great.
Yes, and
Well,
I will join your
I've gone
cult.
down quite a few rabbit holes on cults, so maybe that is coming up. No, that is like one of my rabbit holes for certain. Or
It's
cults.
fascinating. Well, no,
So-
but really like your frame and your clarity, it's like the perfect balance of hopeful without being trite. It's like no denial of the hard stuff, but it's the and.
Yes.
And that is like fuel for your system, it seems.
Yes, it really is. I was at a campus last week because I go visit all of our counselors, and I love to watch them do a guidance lesson, and then we just kind of chat and hang out. But at the end of the day, one of their teachers was crying. I mean, as is life with a teacher, because I experienced that, and it was a first grade teacher, and I taught first grade. First year teacher, I taught first grade first year. And so I went and talked to her, and it's interesting because she just said, I'm doing everything wrong. I'm doing everything wrong. She's like, there's nothing I'm doing right. My kids weren't doing right. And it was that same mindset. I said, okay, I want you to tell me one thing. And I didn't know any of their names. I'm like, but this kid who sat here, what's one thing he did well during your lesson? Anything. And she said, well, he pushed his chair. And I said, perfect. I need you to go home. I want you to write down all your kids' names on a piece of paper and write down one thing that they did. It doesn't have to be that they were great. They pushed their chair and they didn't have that piece of paper hanging out of their desk. They, lined up without turning around to look at their neighbor. When we start focusing on the positive, we start really seeing the positive. And then it becomes really, you see so much positive where then we can hone in on that negative a lot easier because it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Because when we can focus on the positive, it just evokes more positivity. And so she did it, and I'm going back to check in with her to go see those things. And I just told her, I said, if you want to be in this job, which she wanted to be a teacher forever, I said, to sustain it, we have to just shift your mindset. And so, I'm going to go work with a teacher, which is really fun because that's now really not my scope, but to have the ability to do that if I have the time to do it. We have a leadership model here in Mesquite where we do like to work in our level of leadership. But then there are times where sometimes we're like, absolutely, while this isn't my, technical level of leadership, I want to do this because this then feeds into that campus, which feeds the counselor, which feeds the administrators, which then we can have, teachers who stay on campuses. So I'm excited to get to do something a little outside of my general realm and go work with a teacher, which is very exciting for me.
I was listening to a podcast this morning, and they were talking about this gentleman in New York City who, I think New York City for sure up there, affected by the blizzard. He was a snow plow guy. And he was doing his thing, and there were these two dogs running down the street, and he was like, I gotta save these dogs. And he did, and he got them back to their owners, and happy ending. But in his interview, he said, if you see something and there's something you can do about it, do it. And it makes me think of your interaction with that teacher. It's like not in your scope, but it's something you can do, and you're doing it.
Yes, I love that you share that, because I do think sometimes we get in like, well, that's not what I do anymore. And not saying this like I'm thinking of certain people. I just think that's kind of how things go, right? Like I'm over this, and then I'm over this and this. And we have to step back and be like, but I'm a human, and I care for people. I do that first. And so, yes, if I can, I need to. So I really like that you shared that, because I think we have to put ourselves into that human scape again. Like we have to be like, what can I do and how can I do it? Kind of goes along back with that, like, I don't know. Nope, not I don't know, but what can I do and how am I going to be able to do it? And so I love that. I'm actually probably going to use that story, Michelle, at my counselor meeting tomorrow with our counselors. So
love it. It was very grounding to me. How do you discern those moments where it absolutely makes sense to extend yourself outside of your scope, and those moments where I've shared in the podcast before Suzanne Stabile's discernment questions of like, what is mine to do? I forget the second one. And then what is mine to care about is the third. What is mine to do? What is mine to say? Maybe I can't remember, but how do you think about that? Are there also times when you're like, oh, pruning here allows me to do my best work in what's mine to do?
So I will say, one of the things with just really any position, leadership, anything, we do want to say no to some things, right? If we overextend ourselves and take on everything, well, then we're not doing everything well. We're doing everything a little and nothing great. So, with so many things already on our plates, we do have to say, like, this is my focus. I think sometimes that's something that, not that I struggle with, but I do love to help if I can, right? So I have to be like, okay, I'm here. I'm on this campus. This person is crying. I can do this. There are other times where counselors will bring things to me, and of course they're going to be those boots on the ground at their campus, and they come to me for a perspective or just to run something by me and see what I think. So I think we have I think I've created just naturally a good tiered system where even if a counselor's telling me something and running something by me, sometimes I'm like, I need to come to your campus. I want to see this. And whether that's a student thing or a staff thing, it doesn't matter. I'm just like, I want to come see it.
Yeah.
And then for me, that does help me assess like my level that I need to get involved. Because I do tend to want to just help and fix and do things. But I also think a good leader in this role is also equipping other people to be leaders. And so typically that's how I run things. So it's not that I'm saying no, it's that I've delegated different things to people where they are that expert in that area rather than me. They might come and ask me a question, but they too are an expert in the mental health field on their campus. Of course, that is who our counselors are. And I want them to take that rather than, hey, can you talk to this person? With this one situation with this teacher, the counselor did say like, hey, would you mind doing this? And my answer to that 100% of the time is going to, if I'm there, yes, I'm absolutely going to do it. And then I will sometimes pass it along to the counselor. Like, hey, here's what we're doing. But it is hard for me to say no when I can like see someone is in need.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are that way.
100%.
But I also think that we have equipped our counselors to very much be the leader on their campus and work with their administrators to do that on their own too.
You know what I'm hearing that I feel like might be coming through in your interactions all day long, every day? There's nothing transactional about you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's an amazing compliment. Thank you, Michelle.
No, that has to be part of the recipe, I imagine, that's keeping you light and bright, is that it's so relational. It's not transactional. You're paying attention to where you can show up and how, and sometimes you get it right and sometimes you overextend yourself, but none of it's like, next.
Oh, absolutely not. And I think it's probably more the opposite where I'm like, oh no, like we didn't have enough time together. Like when I go to their campuses, I try to schedule like an hour and a half because I love my interactions with people. I love when I get to interact with you and with Katie and all the people and Chris, all the people with Tacky Box. I really love interacting with people. And so that kind of can be a problem where I'm just like, oh, I just want to chat. But it pays off in the long run because then I'm more approachable when they need something. I am always willing to help. I don't think people are afraid to come ask me for assistance if they need something. And I think in this role, it could seem like, oh, I work in the admin building and Amanda's over there. And that's why I go to the campuses and make sure I'm very visible to their whole staff on their campuses because I always want to maintain that. Because that's who I am at the heart. I have a lot of friends and I love that. And I like to have that relationship with my counselors too, where they know they can come to me with hard things, easy things, great things. It's really been wonderful. Plus I was a counselor here before. I worked with a lot of them. And the best compliment that I had was when this job was posted as the elementary counseling and then 504 coordinator, that people reached out to me and they were like, you have to apply for this. This is you. And that, I'm sorry, my email is going to go off and I don't know how to silence it. But
I'm not hearing it.
Okay,
if
good.
that
I was
helps.
like, well,
Yeah.
I am. The biggest compliment was having them say like, hey, you're going to apply for this, right? Like, was this job written for you? Like, this is you. And to have your peers tell you something like that is really powerful because that was what was so great about moving into this role is I still felt like I was able to maintain that and then provide a different level of support. Before, we only had a director of counseling. And so then when they added this 4 years ago, then we provided that elementary support specifically. And it was such a great role to move into because I had already earned just the natural respect of my peers as a leader just amongst them, where I still feel like I do come alongside them and I'm not like lording over them as like, hey, I'm your coordinator. And they know that it bothers me. I have some of our counselors, I'll go to their campus, they're like, this is the big boss, she's here. And they know they do it to bother me because I'm like, don't tell people that. Like, I just am here to support. And so it's been amazing. I love this role. I love our counselors. I love getting to support our whole district. You know, it's kind of what my principal was saying, to take that teacher leadership, you can impact a campus. Well, I really feel like I do get to impact all of our 52 campuses. And that's a huge undertaking, but it's also such an amazing gift that I get to do every day and work with amazing people doing it. So really thankful for who I work with.
I can tell. And you feel like such an embodied example of that flipped org chart, you know, where the teachers are at the top and or whoever's in connection with actual students are at the top, and admin is, what do I do to lighten your load? What do I do to make your job easier?
Yes. And that is what it should be. It really should, because and we need to stay connected to those campuses. The only way we're going to continue to make sure that we can elevate our teachers is if we are spending time on campuses. And so I think we do a really good job about that, making sure we're on campuses, making sure we're actually seeing the day-to-day, because it's easy to hear about the day-to-day. It's another thing to see the day-to-day. And so to make sure I'm on campuses is a really important part of the job.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise you get tone deaf pretty quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What comes closest to threatening the light and bright? What are the things that really take a toll in roles like yours?
So, you know, when I look at my counseling coordinator side, it's interesting because not very much threatens to take that. That is like my heart and what just feels like a joy every day to do. I'm so thankful too. I go to the campuses and some of them invite me to go like still teach guidance, and I love to teach. And so like I get to find ways that can always feel a little bit lighter. Even on those days where where I'm hearing a lot of just awful gut-wrenching things.
Yeah.
I'm able to have this amazing team. And then I can also find those moments of levity and get to go help. The 504 side is great. I really love it. I really love advocating for kids, all kids. But the legal side of that is probably the part that's the hardest for me, and that kind of threatens that sometimes. There's a lot of compliance pieces to 504, just federal compliance, Office of Civil Rights. I do meet with the Office of Civil Rights sometimes, and attorneys and, you know, our general counsel, because of the legal side and because parents are also advocating for their kids, as they should. I do not take that lightly. I very much love to partner with our families when they are struggling with something in their 504. I want them to know they're heard, but that's the part that is a little bit more like taxing, I think, for me, because they are compliance pieces. And I will say there are some moments of frustration for me where I will be like, why aren't we just being compliant with this? Like, why aren't we following these accommodations? They are here. We want to serve our kids. I know everyone truly wants to do these things and everyone's busy. But I wouldn't have to necessarily do that OCR side if those accommodations were followed. So, but again, if I were solely the 504 coordinator, and I think about that, right? Because someday they may, when we're not in a budget deficit across the state, then one day they might do a 504 coordinator position separately. If this were my sole job, I would find purpose in it, of course. But because I also get to do the elementary counseling coordinator side, it ties my purpose really together of like, no, I'm here serving the whole child and I still get to do the counseling side. So the 504 side is really the more, because it's like the legal federal side. It's just, you know, litigious side. So that's a little harder.
No, absolutely. Like there's an element of like bureaucracy that would
Absolutely
suck the soul out of any
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then working with so many case managers, I'm trying to make, that's what's also, it's like a mind game because I'm trying to tell them, like, you're so important. We need to advocate for these students. And then, but to help them, like, again, no, I'm coming alongside them. If you have an issue, please reach out to me because I want everyone to continue in these roles.
Right.
So even with that, I do still get to use my counseling in it, and then still provide that like kindness to all the campuses. And I've gotten, again, good feedback from those people as well. Just, thank you for being so kind and helpful. And I will take those compliments forever. I'm a words of affirmation person. And so that to me just continues. It helps to build me up and where I think like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
And I love it. So
yeah, even though it is bureaucratic and hard and legal, it also protects some of our most vulnerable kids. And
yes,
that's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lovely.
Hi, I'm Katie Worden, producer of Oxygen for Educators. I want to spotlight our sponsor, TackieBox. TackieBox is an elementary school program that pairs innovative content with a tactile tool in daily practice to teach children to self-monitor their own words and actions and their responses to others. It's a proven tool that reduces behavior incidents by 66%. Through daily self-reflection, students build self-awareness, self-regulation, and meaningful connections. TackieBox is a light lift for teachers with a big impact on student well-being. Go to tackiebox.com to learn more and become a TackieBox district.
What do you see from your seat on the bus supporting the folks you support that the general public gets wrong?
So I do feel very blessed to be in Mesquite, where I think overall our families very much value and understand the purpose of our community definitely values what we do. So mental health is at the forefront of things. Our district also values it, SEL. So and really, I know SEL can be kind of that word that some people don't like to say. We have not had issues with that. But we also brand it as future ready skills and career ready skills. So our families don't have a problem with that. And it's really great. I think overall, though, something that Christy Davis, our director, and myself have really been trying to share with legislators and with the general public is that we welcome people to come see what we do. We are not, we love that parents have a right and a say in what their children get to receive from us. We are all about parent consent. I think the perception sometimes that has kind of gotten out just in the general sense is like we're doing things behind closed doors and we don't want to tell you and we're trying to do this for your children. But really, we very much partner with our families. And so everything we do is a partnership with our families because we know that, yes, it starts at home. They come to us and it has to be a partnership. So really what I want everyone to know just in general, really across the country, the world, counselors, educators, we want to partner with our families. We really have no desire to hide something from them. We would much prefer our families and our communities to be a huge part and be the stakeholders in what we do. And I would venture to say if families and community members reached out to their campus, they would be welcome with open arms to see these things and then how they can have a voice and a say in these things as well. Because we want that. That's what we want in public education. My sister, again, is in private. That's what they want in private education. So that's what we want. We want to partner with our families, our kids, and make everyone know that they are a part of this community.
I mean, that is so elegantly put. And I think that is real life compared to just the political pot stirring that's creating narratives that some people glom onto. But I think what you're describing is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
It's
absolutely
it's the experience of most parents, and we would all be wise to be suspicious of a very narrow, very loud group of folks who are self-dealing by creating a perception of an adversarial relationship that doesn't exist or doesn't have to be there.
Absolutely. And here's what I would say. In recent months, really, like in the past basically year that I've learned about that, because we're hearing, and of course it's primarily political just in general, and not even looking at specific sides. There are things that people get wrong on both sides. And I think what I would tell educators to do is to reach out to your representative senators, not just to send them an email, but invite them to your campus. It especially has been interesting because that's what we're doing right now in our district, from the counseling side, is reaching out to our senators and our representatives and having them come tour what we have as our care clinic, our free clinic for our families, students, and staff. And then we're telling them about counseling. And what's amazing is, because they're serving our community, so these are their constituents, this is what they do. This is what they want to do. So then when they're able to actually see it, rather than just stand behind a bill and either champion it or go against it, when they can see it, it does change their perspective on things. And what's been interesting is we've been able to meet with senators who maybe don't necessarily best understand what we're doing. But when they see it and they see our heart and our passion behind it, it actually has created some very good dialogue that we would not have had if we hadn't met with them face to face. If we had just voiced it, I think making your voice heard anyway, email, anything, that's wonderful too. But if you have the ability to be like, no, you know what? Let's invite them to our campus. Let's invite them to our district. I would say to do it. It is an unbelievable experience to really get to show your passion to people who are serving your community and your constituents. So that's been a huge thing that I think I've learned in the past year, is really that big A advocacy. That's what we talked about last year at the Texas School Counseling Association. We do a lot of little A advocacy, and it's vital to do. But that big A advocacy, where we are talking with legislators and the people who are actually making these decisions, that may have a huge impact on our school districts and our states. We need to do more of that as educators, because we are professionals. We have earned our right to be here, and we really need to make sure that we're advocating for our careers.
Where is the cult gonna live? Like, where should I? What should I pack for? Warm weather or cold weather?
Where do I like? So, yeah,
yeah. So beautifully put. And what I'm picking up from you is that, in addition to everything we've already talked about, you're really good at locus of control. You're really good at not getting swept up by the things that are upsetting to you, but outside of your control, and just kind of like, spiraling. Instead, what I hear you saying is you track on that, but then you pull the thread and you go, what can I do? Yes. What is in my control? How can I be active and proactive around things I care about, instead of life just happening to me?
Yes, that's exactly right. I think we kind of get in this mode where it's like, it's easy to complain about the things that are happening. And then you think, okay, well, what can I do? And so that's what Christy and I talk about. Like, okay, we keep saying like, oh gosh, I can't believe this is happening in this new Senate bill. Well, what can we do? Well, we have to do something. And so that's how this all started. And it's been really amazing. So I've so enjoyed getting to do another side of things. And now I was telling someone, I was like, well, now I just want to like run to be a representative or a senator, which I have actually wanted to do that since I was in seventh grade. But I do think you need to be like independently wealthy, because apparently they don't make any money. So I was like, well, I don't think that's in my cards, but I do love meeting with them. So we're going to continue to do that side.
Well, I hope it is in your cards at some point.
We'll see.
If the cult leader thing doesn't work out, Senator, Congressperson. I would love
Senator
to be
Carroll,
represented by
Representative Carroll. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just been really great to add something new. I mean, we've been doing this. Chrissy's been in her role 5 years. This is 4 years for me. And then to think, okay, now we've done this. What else can we do? And then we're just going to continue to go from there.
It's really, really inspiring and heartening. If and when, because I bet you do have these conversations with your counselors, you're working with someone or someone's listening who is literally feeling like, I have to choose this work or my well-being. I cannot have the two. You clearly have figured out how to have both. So what would be your concrete advice to people who are feeling like things are so tough in education that they might have to exit?
So I see education, of course, for me as like my mission field. So my view of it is a bit different than potentially others, though it's very similar to a lot of people, especially here in Texas. And when people are really struggling, I don't want to tell them like, oh, let me tell you how amazing this is. Because when you're in that place, and we've all, talked to people like this, when you're in that place, when someone tells you that, I feel like it actually makes you like harder, where you're like, well, why are they not understanding this? Like, this is miserable. So I actually have had conversations with counselors about this. And I'm like, I want you to do what is best for you. I need you to take care of yourself. However, let's talk about how I can come alongside you and support you. Is there something that I can do to lighten your load? Is there something that I can do to come on your campus maybe like a few days a week, and I can model guidance for you or take over those lessons for you for a little bit? We do have a lot of things that happen in our normal lives. Parents pass away, tragedies happen, people get injured, and with our own counselors. And so I think the biggest thing is, before people make that really a drastic decision a lot of the times to fully leave education, I just want people to know they're not alone in it. And so like, before you do that, and I do always preface it with, I want you to do whatever is best for you. But is there something that I can do for you right now? And sometimes when we do that, they do stay, because I think they think they're alone, that like no one understands them or they can see them. And if I can go in and they can still go to work, but like I can just come alongside and just lighten the load for a while and give them that break that they need, then sometimes they stay. And you know what? Sometimes they don't. And again, I just want people to serve and to be doing what they need to be doing. And if you're not in a good headspace, really, for me as a teacher or a counselor or administrator, if you're not in a good headspace, you're not best serving kids. And so if we can get you back to that, absolutely. But if we can't, it's okay to leave. We have to have kids at the forefront, our kids and families. And if we feel we're not best serving them, then it's okay to step away and find something else that will help you better serve.
Yeah. And it's going to be individualized.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really distinct for each person. But the difference of feeling like I'm in it alone and I feel helpless and hopeless, versus I'm doing hard, meaningful work in community with other amazing professionals, is night and day.
Absolutely. I mean, it's 1,000% night and day. Because that's how I feel. I'm the latter. I feel like I am doing hard, meaningful work every day, and I see the purpose behind it. And I pray I never lose that. I can't see a day where I will lose that. But you just never know. But I can't see it because I really get to see it played out every day in my conversations and with the kids here. And so I do get to actually see it.
What about like concrete practices? You talked about reading every morning and doing, you're connecting to your higher power, your higher guidance. What are things you do daily or weekly that just keep you grounded, keep you in your body?
Mm-hmm. So other than spending time, of course, for me in the Bible, I also do this. I journal. I like to journal, just long journaling, but I also, something that I share with my friends, I have a close group of girlfriends that we did years ago. There's a journal and it's called One Thought a Day, and it tracks for 5 years each day. So every night before bed, I'll just write down like what happened for the day. The best part about that is once you get to that next year, then you see what happened a year ago, and some of those things that you were thinking of or that were on your heart or that you were praying for or anything, you'll realize it was solved. And what seemed so large then seems really minute, or something that was so large may seem larger. And then you just keep staying with it. And it's very interesting. That's been a really good practice for me to keep it day to day, right? Something that's big one day may not be the next day. And then when I can see it a year from now, I didn't even remember that that was a thing. And it brings it back like, okay, what a good perspective. So I would recommend doing a thought a day. They're a 5-day journal. It takes no time at all to complete it. Like a minute and a half.
Wait, that is fascinating. So
Yeah.
on the same page,
It's 5.
you see
5
what
blocks.
you wrote the
Yes.
same exact day a year
Yeah.
ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah. So
That
you like
is
put like
so
20 and then you
cool.
put like 26 and then 27, 28, 29. And so, yeah, you can just track it. And so
That is
what's
so
interesting
cool.
is like, I've been doing it for a while. And the most fascinating part for me when I look back to me pre-kids for me, when it was for my husband and I struggled to have kiddos. And so watching that where you feel like it's so heavy, and that's of course affecting your daily life, and then seeing it play out to now where I now have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. And it's so amazing to get to watch those things, but I wouldn't have gotten to experience it in that same way if I hadn't taken the time to just write something small down. And some days I talked about work, some days I talked about personal things, but I will say that really keeps me, I don't know, just like focused on the moment and able to like compartmentalize in a good way, not just like get rid of something, but like, this is what it is today. And then I'm going to go on to the next day. And it's just really amazing to get to look back over 5 years once you've completed the journal. So
That's
really
a
neat.
super cool practice. I'd not heard it exactly like that. That's really interesting. Is there anything you wrote this week that isn't private that you might share?
I'm pretty much an open book.
Get it out. Let's read it. I'm just kidding.
This week has been, overall pretty standard. I feel like when I'm looking at last week, I did write a few days from last week that, and again, y'all, we all know like last week was a short week. I'm a 226 employee, so I did work 5 days, but I kept writing like, man, this short week sure feels like it should be next Friday, and I'm ready. I need a good night of sleep. So that's kind of like, sometimes I'll put that on there, and it's always funny to go back to that where I'm like, oh gosh, that's so funny that was what was like on my mind. And I'll have random times that pops up. This week, it's been a lot more, I say, like personal. My daughter had the flu last week, and so she's out of that, but she's in this weird like, clingy phase after being sick. And so a lot of that's been like, but I love it. So I'll say like, I got to spend great time with Emma Claire today, and she wanted to sit with me, and we read the chapter book that the school's doing a whole book club. The whole school's reading the same book at the same time. They sent it home. And so I'm like, I got to sit with her and I got to read with her. And those are the things I've been writing this week. And I got to ask her these questions, and I'll just write little bits. And I'm so thankful that one day when she's 18, that I get to look back and see little memories that I have with her when she's 5. So those are just that's really what's been this week. Other weeks, will be very heavy work. Like, I heard about this today. I'm overwhelmed by this.
Yeah.
But again, it's so nice for me to really see that, again, what feels heavy or what still feels heavy. Sometimes it doesn't later, or sometimes I can see that for me, for prayer, like, and that was answered, or that was addressed in some way, or things that I really had been advocating for came to fruition. And it's neat to get to actually see it, and it's written down. So,
and
really,
just
I really
like,
love it.
It contextualizes that notion that that this too shall pass, good and bad. Like the good stuff passes, the bad stuff passes. Like it's all, nothing's permanent.
Exactly. And that's a good, it's a good thing you brought up, because sometimes, things are very hard in there. My father-in-law passed away right before my daughter turned 1. And so that's all in there, and so like you have these very hard things, right? But the bad things do pass, and we're able to remember him. And then good things that are great, those too pass, So it is a good perspective of seeing like life keeps going. It does. And it's going to go, and there's going to be really hard things, and life does still continue to go, and we have to find our purpose in that too. And there's going to be amazing things, and still life keeps going. And so that's been probably the best practice that I've had now for 7 years. And so that I recommend everyone do it. It's really great and doesn't take much time.
Really cool.
None of us have time. So if you can find something with little time, I recommend it.
And what is the branded? Is it a book you can buy that's branded, or you just do it yourself?
No, I buy it. But you can do it yourself. But and they're not expensive. I think it costs like $12. But I mean, they have them anywhere. Amazon has them, and if you just type in like a thought a day or 5-day journal, they're small. They're like this big, and you just write a little thing in it, and it's a little tiny journal that you can like pop in your bag, so you don't have to worry about carrying a whole thing. I also do like to journal in general, just write, but I'm not as good at it because it takes time. That I feel like I don't have right now. And hopefully I can get back into that. But like at the stage of life that I'm in, I just feel like I don't have time.
Yeah.
But I do have time to very quickly for a minute and a half write like 2 sentences of what happened for the day.
Yeah. Okay. So you're reading in the morning, you're doing your at least 1 or 2 sentences a day, tracking over time. What else?
And then I just always end the day right before bed. For me, that's where I pray. That's just like the last thing I do. And then I go to bed. I also, this is a newer thing, January, but I gave up social media. So I still have it, but, I got an app that if I go to something that it says like, are you sure you want to open it? And then you're like, I don't. And so it's been 2 months since I've spent any time on any social media. I still get like rundowns of the news so that I can know what's going on. But I will say that has been truly life-changing. The amount of time you may not even know you're spending on it. And it also frees up your headspace for things that are very productive. And you're less influenced by things, and you're able to like connect with people. And I always be like, but this is how I'm keeping up with my friends. And it is, but that's not really what we're using social media for. And so I think if that was what we were using it for, that'd be great. But we're using it for scrolling and like doom scrolling and staying up late. And I have found since January, I have been in such a better headspace, and my productivity is better. And I fully attribute it to not being on social media. However, I will say, again, Christy Davis, and she's one of my closest friends as well, which is nice to work with. You're like one of your best friends. She also gave up social media. So the two of us together not doing that it's so nice to have someone do that with you. And it makes a big difference. So that's the other thing that's new for me that I'm also doing is no social media.
I'm in your subgroup, and I've never looked back, never missed it.
I don't miss it at all. I know people ask me, and I'm like, I don't miss it. I thought I would. And at first you're kind of like, because it's that habit.
Yeah.
But then once that goes away, I have no desire to get on it at all. And I'm just connecting with my actual friends, like the ones that I like keep up with, and I'm not influenced. I've probably saved money because I'm not seeing like random people try to sell me something that I'm like, I need that.
100%.
So yeah, it's been great. So it's a hard challenge, but I really don't think anyone who actually does it, they don't regret giving up social media.
I've never talked to anyone that's like, oh, that was hard for a long time, or I regret it, or my life is less rich, or I don't feel like I'm in contact with the people I care about. Yeah. I've never heard any of that.
Yeah, I did. I did get on. I got on Instagram yesterday to reshare a post from one of the representatives that we met with, but I thought, I don't know, that's kind of purposeful for the job. But it's interesting because I like got on, shared it because someone told me that it was on there, and then I just got off. Like I didn't spend any time like scrolling. It was just a purposeful moment. And I thought, ooh, that's how I would prefer to use that app,
different.
So yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So that's it. So that's really all my things. No social media, journaling, quick little thought a day, and the Bible and prayer.
Yeah.
So,
good list.
Yeah.
When you were talking about your journal, you mentioned such and such really overwhelmed me. What do you look like overwhelmed?
Like this. I am not an external stressor. So what I will say, and that's always been, it's like a blessing and a curse because I don't want to be an external stressor. I like to be pretty calm and like where people don't feel like, oh, I can't talk to Amanda right now. But what does happen sometimes is it can affect like, my health, right? Like I'm tired. I will develop like an eye twitch or sometimes a sty. And that's when I know like, ooh, my internal stress is very high. but I pretty much look like this. Now, of course, my husband would probably say like, you have some external stress. But with those I work with and interact with, people are like, I've never seen you stressed. And they haven't, because I don't present differently when I'm stressed. And I'm very thankful for that, because I always just want to maintain that. But I do get overwhelmed for sure.
I feel like that tone setting and sort of paying attention to how you might be triggering a signal of danger in the people around you because of that external stressing, like understanding that is possibly the biggest leadership lever anyone has, way more than what you know or what you can do. It's, can you create psychological safety for the people you work with?
Absolutely. And something I have shared with my counselors is that I do get stressed, right? So I'll try to tell them, like, because I don't want to seem like that person, like, well, nothing ever bothers Amanda, But I think it's important, though, to, like what you said, like, I think psychological safety is so important. I think maintaining that level for me is so important, not only for myself, but as well as for people who I'm working with. But I'm also very honest, like, oh, y'all, I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed right now. And that's how I say it. And then people are like, are you? But I think I
look
just
at my eye.
Yeah, I'm like, do you see it? It's switching. But like, I think I just like am very honest with how I feel better about speaking it, because I don't ever want someone to feel like they're a burden to me if they're coming to me, because they can see it on my face, especially in the role that I'm in. I can't afford to have people afraid to come talk to me. And I don't know how to necessarily repair that if that happened. I mean, I do know how, but I don't want to have to spend the time doing that when I can just continue to be a help for them. And so I'm just, that's how I am, though. I'm just kind of even keeled overall. So,
no, but that's so critical, because what a lot of leaders miss is that if you're giving that off, people assume it's about them in the same way children do if a parent is upset. Like, not to compare children and employees, I don't mean that, but like,
oh, you can, we can,
in terms of like impact on people's nervous systems, you go in your head to like, what did I do?
Absolutely.
Why are things off with me and this person who has power over me? It's terrifying.
Yes. And then we have created that when really there's really nothing. And then you spiral. The last counselor meeting we had was right after the ICE days. And I sent out an email, and it was really meant for like, hey, just in case your administrators are saying don't leave campus, we do have a time sensitive meeting that we have to discuss. And our elementary counselors know me so well. And so what's interesting is after the meeting, I said something like, please make every effort to attend the meeting. We have time sensitive information, and I just want everyone to hear it in the same way at the same time. It was about registration for 6th grade, but I didn't say that. I just said, I just want everyone to hear it the same way. And after the meeting, I had people come up and they're like, so what was the big news? I'm like, big news? What are you talking about? And they were like, well, you said like, we have to hear it the same way. I was like, oh, registration. And then I thought, okay, so I need to be, and I'm usually really good with my words, but I thought, okay, I need to be very aware. And it was probably 6 of them who got worried. And then I sent out like a clarifying email, and the rest of them were like, what are you talking about? I thought that was fine. So having to take into account, though, 37 people and how they are perceiving something. I'm still learning that, right? So today I sent out an email reminding them, I'm like, hey, looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. And that's it. Like, I was just like, and so, because in my mind, I read it as my tone, right? Like, I just want everyone to hear it at the same way at the same time. So excited to see y'all. And that's not how everyone perceived it. And so even though they know me, I even talked to one of them. I'm like, you know me. She's like, I know. I don't know why I did this. So having to take into account truly 37 counselors. And then also when I think about their administrators too, having to take into account, it's hard sometimes to make sure you're doing all of that, but really being aware of like what I need to make sure I am keeping everyone psychologically safe. I felt terrible that I had them like thinking I was going to say something scary. And then I was able to, of course, smooth it over. But I always am learning like, okay, I need to take into account everybody when I'm sending something. So
No, that's so lovely. And it really is just an exploration and a raising of awareness because you're everybody's nervous system is unique, and what is read as a sign of safety to one person is read as a signal of danger to another. And so you can't get it right 100% of the time with 100% of the people. But if you are completely unaware or you don't care because you're like, I'm the one with the power.
Yeah.
You figure out how to morph to my manners.
Exactly.
Then that's when you wreak havoc. I don't think you
would not
wreak
be me.
havoc if you're a you.
Yeah. You know, and I was very thankful though, speaking to that, they did come to me after and say like, hey, what is this? Which I think if they hadn't had that relationship, now that I'm thinking about it, they would have just sat on it and still been worried about what I'm like going to say. So they did approach me and ask, and so I appreciate that, right? I actually was able to fix it. But I'm really thankful rather than them just go home and continue to spiral on like what I didn't say at that meeting. And so I am thankful for that. And I do think that's that relationship that I've built with them.
Yeah, 100%. You created that and they created that. It's co-created.
Yeah. And they're the best. I mean, our counselors are, and y'all know some of them.
They are amazing.
Jackie's been on the podcast. I mean, we have amazing counselors. And so, I count myself very, very blessed to be able to work with such passionate counselors. It's wonderful. They're amazing.
Great group of folks.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we decided we would talk, was there anything you thought, oh gosh, let's not forget to address blank, blank, or blank?
Probably. But now I'm like, I don't know. I feel like we've talked about so many things.
Get your journal out and see if there's anything.
What did I write about? No, I think, the biggest thing for me as an educator, and I think it's come across, of course, just in all the ways, but is to me, I think it's students first, but how can we create future ready kids and how can we draw their parents in for that? And I think I mentioned this, and I think this has come across, but we have to teach kids how to recognize things in themselves, how to not only recognize greatness, because we do talk about that forever. Oh, you can do this, but also like we need them to recognize their emotions. We need them to see that they have power over that. We need them to see that external circumstances don't have to always dictate everything that's happening internally, and they have autonomy over themselves. And so that's something that we really work on a lot here in Mesquite. Of course, we have certain things we have green spaces. We, of course, do Tacky Box. There's so many things that we're doing to help kids to regulate their emotions, understand how people are affecting them, understand how they're affecting others. And I think that is vital to creating well-rounded, future-ready adults. But we have to start now. We have to start when they're with us, so pre-K. But prior to this, like when I first learned about we were doing Tacky Box, Emma Claire was 4. And so I did it with her at home. Amazing. So we have to start so young with our kids where it's a natural, normal process and they don't feel afraid or ashamed to say how they're feeling or that they're struggling, because I've found that the more we've talked to Emma Claire about it, and then now Porter's 3, so we're really getting more into that with him. I literally have a video, a little voice recording. It was so cute. Last night at bed, he said, "Mom, I'm not mad. I'm just frustrated." And I said, "Okay, tell me about that." And he just said, "I just was frustrated at bed." And I loved that. And I also feel very proud that our home is a place where he knows those emotions. And I want him to know it's safe to say that to me and your dad. And we will, come alongside you and work with you through that. But I think we have to start so young. And then the more we do that, well, they're able to get through really hard things. And we see that with our students here in Mesquite. They have a lot of grit, naturally, but also the more we train it in them, then it's their grit. It's not, I'm creating grit for them. It's theirs. And we want our kids to have that ownership over themselves and know that they have agency over their choices and what they're doing. And it's really, really important.
Thank you so much. You are such a bright light. I feel like I got an energy infusion just learning from you and sitting with you. And I'm just in awe and so grateful for you, and also the many, many counselors and educators across the country that approach their work and their job with the same lens and energy and passion and commitment. I feel like they are the norm, but the narrative has gotten hijacked.
Absolutely.
And you are such a great representation of the norm of excellence among educators.
Well, thank you, Michelle. That's so kind.
It's genuinely felt and meant. And thank you for your time.
Absolutely. I loved it. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk soon.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Hey, Chris.
Hi.
So there she is, the one and only.
The one and only, the light and bright, as you kept saying.
Yeah, very light and bright. What do you want to talk about first?
There's a lot I want to talk about, but before we kind of go off, let's just talk a little bit about her. And what stuck out to me is what an example of the power of mindset she is. That every kind of nugget that I noted for a while drew me back to that point, starting with how her career tracks with that mindset that her dad embedded in them at such a young age. Well, what's going to be next? Serve here, but what's next? And when you think about from teacher to counselor to leader to big A advocacy to future senator, like it's just happening because that's just how her mind is built. Also, I noticed when she was describing her story and her job to you, every time she talked about anything, even if it was really hard, it was, and I get to, but she used those words, I get to, every single time, in relation to the hard and the things that she loves. So that to me was very powerful, that's how she sees her work and her role. Also, this made me want to be her friend, but she's very intentional about her character and who she wants to be. It didn't feel to me that she necessarily set out to be on a hierarchical, I can never say that word.
Hierarchical.
Thank you. Pathway or career ladder. She's more focused on who she wants to be. For example, she never wants someone to feel like if they call her, it's a burden. So she's just always thinking about that. And, I think that's probably why she gravitated to Tackybox and putting Tackybox in Mesquite ISD elementaries, because it's about teaching kids to think about who they want to be. But that's clearly just that character piece of her is a major driver. And then the last point on that was just when she talked about education is hard and so that's just her mindset. It's hard and I can do this for my kids. So I found that very inspiring.
Made me think of Rebecca Peterson, the and. Yeah. And they both are kind of mindset mavens, if you will, like really extraordinary examples of unbelievably challenging circumstances, but the way the body, the mind, the soul metabolize it completely different because of the essentially glasses they wear. Like they literally make a choice of this is the lens through which I'm going to experience this. And it's so life-giving.
Well, even you made the Rebecca Peterson comparison, who was a previous podcast guest. If you haven't listened to that podcast, I highly recommend it. But Rebecca talked about one good thing and finding one good thing, which Amanda echoed in this interview when she talked about helping that teacher. And she encouraged the teacher to just think about write a list of the kids and what's one good thing those kids did that day and focus on that positive rather than the negative. So you reinforce that positive thinking. So yes, they're very similar.
I had that section down too. And that asking the teacher to note that positive thing from a posture of such generosity of spirit, no judgment. We've all been there. We got to figure out how you approach this in a way that's sustainable for you. Like that frame with then a task that will literally train her attention, which will change her experience. That combo platter is so rare. Like I feel like some leaders, they're all support, but there's no like on the other side of that, there's no like, and this is how you move out of this headspace, or this is how you move out of it, but there's not that psychological safety to kind of relax into the relationship and then do the work. And she does both like effortlessly.
And also not just offering solutions that the teacher could then turn around and go do on her own. She's jumping into the trenches to do it with her.
Yeah.
It seemed to me that she's wise enough and knows herself well enough to know that when there are those opportunities to really do the work, whether it's taking over a counseling lesson or, getting alongside that teacher and coaching and being in direct relationship, that's good for her too.
Mm-hmm. It's probably what keeps her so relatable and grounded and accessible. Light and bright. And you mentioned this in one of your texts, but how unbelievably proud must her parents be?
Oh, yes. Yes.
I mean, it's like her whole life is a love letter to them and what they instilled in her.
It made me, I don't know if it did this for you, but it made me think a lot about what impressions I've left on my kids and what would the thing be that they would say about me, and would I be proud of it?
Yeah.
Her dad should be.
Yeah. That one's a ooh, I want some do-over moment, and also, oh yeah, I think I got it okay, and these areas. Yeah. Both,
yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you. Do you have another thought?
What do you have next?
Well, we kind of talked about this in the intro, but it bears repeating that I think her superpower is psychological safety, and the way that she regulates the emotional climate of the system. And she does it in a way that is not performative, does not center her. It centers the experience of the people that she's there to serve. And it also I don't know how to explain this, but I'm going to try. Because one of the things I hear from a lot of leaders right now is we want to take care of our people, but where is the line? There can be a little bit of okay, I'm pouring so much into the adults in the building that becomes the punchline, instead of we're doing this toward the end of you being able to serve students well. And I just get the sense that she is impeccable at being able to show up for the adults who care for their schools, their teachers, the kids, in ways that walk that fine line perfectly. So it's like total support, but no going down a hole that then that becomes the focus. The adults become the focus instead of we're going to care for the adults in the building so we can all do our best for the true focus, which is the kids.
I think that the kids and that heart for serving them is so deeply embedded in her. I don't think she could get away from it if she tried. I don't think that she could lose focus of that.
No, I so agree. She couldn't. And then her capacity to hold loving but accountable space for the other people, that's just, I feel like I'm saying the same thing, but it's so magical. And it made such an impression on me, because I just think most leaders can't inhabit that space with zero martyr energy and so effectively.
And some of it may come from the fact that I think she's doing the work for all the right reasons. It just doesn't feel like there's ego in the way at all with her.
Agreed. Yeah.
She's not climbing a ladder. She's probably going to end up at the top of the ladder, but she's not doing it purposefully.
Right.
She's doing it out of service. And she kept talking about this was her mission field, and that seemed very authentically true.
Yeah. Agree.
And I really like people who are authentic.
Yes, you do. You have a low tolerance for veneers.
I do. I might should work on that, but
Or not.
or not.
What else?
Well, I found this interesting, and then I went down a AI rabbit hole, but I feel like she dropped a nugget of oxygen for our listeners without even meaning to when she talked about her experience looping a class and moving up with the kids. I can't remember if she started in kindergarten or first grade, but multiple year after year. And I'd never heard that term, not being in education. So I did know one teacher when my kids were little that did that. And I always kind of wondered why. But I was surprised by just the research around it and the impact. And it seemed to me, because there was so much research that tied it to a solution for burnout. And so it seemed to me that she was really offering some wisdom to anyone who's listening that might not want to give up their kids. Like if you've got a class that's really working for you, trying that for a few years. One thing that I read, it said that schools that intentionally reduce the stressors that looping reduces see up to a 62% lower attrition rate. That's huge.
Wow.
And then tips for a district that I found: if you do want to offer looping for educators in your district, it should always be voluntary. Teachers should receive curriculum support for that next grade that they're moving up to. Administrators actively reduce workload and emotional labor, and that looping is paired with wellness and collaborative leadership practices. But I just thought that was really interesting to see that it had that big of an impact. You're nodding, so that's clearly a known thing.
Yeah, but probably underdone and underutilized and underleaned on. And the fact that she wanted to do it, and she even mentioned it's not because they were easy, it's because they were hers, and they'd already kind of like started down that relational path. But the fact that she wanted to do it, did it again. I think maybe did it a third, or maybe it was the third year that she was, and then the fourth year she was going to do it, but then joined the counseling department. I mean, that just, if in a few hours of our lives she's made the impression she's made on us, can you imagine those students that had her for 3 or 4 years?
Well, and also just when you think about how much we hear that behavioral issues are the hardest thing to deal with right now. And if you've already got a system that works with that classroom and you're not having to start over again and you can focus, it makes sense intuitively why it would impact burnout. But I just was surprised by that when I went down my rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a good rabbit hole. I like it.
Yeah. So there was a nugget for our listeners.
Really good nugget. I think her message about how she grounds herself, like doing the morning and evening prayer, meditation, reading the Bible in her case, the journaling. Have you bought your 1-sentence daily journal yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Me
bought
too.
my daughter one too.
Same. I was like, I got to get the girls doing this. This will be so fun. No social media, and then just being reflective about, like, I always call that like being in relationship with her inner world. Like the things she talked about, those are rhythms. And a lot of the self-care chatter is more like hacks. And we could learn a lot from her. She's figured out some rhythms. She honors them. She tweaks them. She pays attention to how they're affecting her. Like that's really the deeper self-care.
She knows when she's not light and bright, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I had a question for you around that, because you made the comment that she has a commitment to operationalize what feeds her. So I think that's what you're speaking to. So if you've never done that, you've never kind of operationalized or set up practices for yourself, how would you guide someone to start?
Yeah. The smartest...
And I mean, I might be talking about myself. I don't know.
And by someone, okay, there's a couple thoughts. Like one of the traps is if you get too rigid about it and then it just falls off because it becomes oppressive instead of self-sustaining. However, for a lot of people, some sort of goal makes it like non-negotiable, which a lot of the cognitive and emotional load is when you're negotiating with yourself on a daily basis if you're going to do something that you know fuels you. So if you can remove the negotiating by deciding I'm going to do this for 30 days or whatever, that helps reduce it. It also speaks to the, that sort of like adolescent in us that is driven by a streak that you don't want to break. So on those days when you're like, ugh, I don't have it in me, but I don't want to break my streak, then you do the thing. That's part of it. I worked with one woman that I thought did something genius, which is she, rather than have goals of like, I'm going to read every morning or I'm going to meditate every morning, I'm going to do yoga every morning, rather than have kind of the rigidity around the what, she just decided she was going to do 30 days, which she ultimately extended. And it was going to be 15 to 30 minutes. And during that time, she would decide what felt most nourishing. So all she did was block the time. And some days she would read, some days she would listen to music, some days she would dance, some days she would go on a walk. But it was the sacred for her was the time and that it started her day, because then it kind of rippled from there.
And was it like at a specific time a day, every day?
Well, she had like a pretty rigid start to her work day. So she had to like build it into her morning routine. So it did end up happening pretty close to the same time every day.
You've referred to yourself as rigid in your practices at times. I've heard you say that. So is yours very like, is your calendar blocked time-wise for the different things that you want to get in every day? Not anymore.
No, not anymore. Now, and also I run hot and cold. Like there's some things that I can sustain over years, but almost everything else I run hot and cold. But when I'm on it, I have like a sequence of things, and I like to do them in the morning because I do think that makes a huge difference in terms of the tone setting for the rest of the day. But I'm not rigid about the start time or, how many minutes I spend on each one or whatever.
And if something happens that day and your practice gets hijacked, what happens to you?
I mean, I'm different.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not as grounded. I'm more reactive. Things feel more personal. Like when I have that grounding at the first of the day, and I think that a lot of people who do morning rituals feel this way, it's like you enter into your work day, you've like rebalanced I'm mixing way too many metaphors here, but you've like filled the tank essentially. And then that way, when something happens, instead of you entered the day at like a quarter tank, something happens and you're pretty close to zero, you enter your day with a full tank, you go to the quarter tank, you may even go to close to half a tank by the end of the day, but you never get into that dangerous or you get into the dangerous territory less often. And it just feels different. It's like that quote, you do not see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. When I'm depleted, those are the glasses I see the world through. When I'm grounded and resourced, those are the glasses I see the world through. Same events happening to me, but totally different experience.
Love it.
How
I really
about you?
liked that term, operationalizing.
Yeah. How about you?
Really
like, how do you think about all that?
Sounds like a great place to get to.
But I've seen in you like when you are reading things that speak to your soul, life feels different to you.
I just feel like right now, a cancer diagnosis has zapped everything. So it's just I'm in such a rebuild place. And I'm having to learn that it's going to be seasonal. Everything's going to be seasonal for a while because nothing is going back to normal.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. Do you experience yourself being gentle with yourself about that reality, or
surprisingly, yes.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, yes. I probably wouldn't if I didn't have you in my life. Thanks for being here, friend.
Count on it.
Yeah.
No, but that's really important. And I know you will remember this. The listeners may not, but we've talked before about coping flexibility. And that is being able to notice the season of life you're in and what is it that you need right then and do it. And then when it's no longer serving you, release it and pick up something else. So yeah, it makes sense that you're having to rethink everything.
Well, and I think in this situation too, when you and I have talked about this, like in the beginning, I thought I could project manage cancer like I project manage most of life. And that's not a thing I've learned. Yeah. So just letting go of even that and viewing, okay, for this season of time, this is what my days look like. This is where I can work in things for me. I mean, it is for me, obviously, long-term health-wise, but to figure that out and then just say, that's too much for right now. But I do feel like there are lots of things I'm excited to get to do. I'm almost there.
When the
it's
time
just
is
season of different treatment seasons and such. So
I feel like no matter what people are going through that are listening, they're going to feel oxygen from that share, just the clarity of the seasons thing. Because maybe it's cancer, maybe it's a death in the family, maybe it's very stressful work situation.
Or just the school calendar in itself is stressful and seasonal. And so you're right. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah. Amanda would be like, yes. Chris.
Amanda would say, in 5 years, Chris, that's not what's going to be the highlight that you write of your day. Yes. You will hopefully not be going to chemotherapy.
You will not be. You will not be. I love it.
Yeah, I did. I loved her just around the discussion around that journal when she talked about fertility issues and how heavy that must have seemed in that time. And I internalized that and I thought, oh yeah, hope next January I'll be writing about something different. And then 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, this is going to seem like a distant memory. But I also liked that she pointed out the good times are non-permanent too. And that to me that stuck me probably more than the other.
Yeah, we really forget that it's both. The call is to be fully present with whatever's going on, the good or the bad, knowing that it's fleeting. All of it's fleeting. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's precious. Because if it wasn't fleeting, or when we forget that it's fleeting, life gets really grayscale. But when you remember that memento mori, we will die and the good will pass, the bad will pass. Like that's what creates that technicolor experience of the human ride.
Enjoy it while you can.
Oh man.
Should we talk about Big A advocacy?
Yeah.
I loved that. I just really loved that. And I felt a little bit aligned in mission when she talked about the only way we're going to elevate our teachers is if we spend time on campuses, because it's different to actually see the work being done firsthand and just hear about it, which is the reason that we invite educators onto this podcast so we can learn and hear from them. And those who make decisions can learn and hear from them so they make the right decisions on their behalf. But I do feel like that's a whole nother level to be that thoughtful to invite politicians to come to your campus.
Yeah.
And the fact that they came.
Yeah.
That's bold. And I've watched over the years, specifically with the Lone Star State School Counseling Association, they'll take advocacy days where big groups of counselors will leave school and go to Austin. And, half the time you walk around and you can't actually, that particular politician is not in their office, and you maybe talk to someone on their staff or leave a flyer but to actually have them come in and visit the school, that's really, really powerful.
It's so smart. And
So
it's
smart.
so mature. Like the maturity level of being like, oof, what's happening in Austin or DC is not great for kids. It's not great for educators. I think the natural reaction is to rage against it. And her to be able to be like, ooh, actually what I'm going to do is engage. And I'm going to engage with respect and humility and belief that if they see what's actually happening, there's less daylight between our views than the way it's currently going down. That's pretty cool.
So cool. So cool. And I liked, she said, we need to do more of that because we are professionals. We've earned our right to be here and to advocate for our careers. That was her quote.
It's a good one.
I think that's when you went back to suggesting the cult. I kind of liked the senator idea, but I'll help you with the
Could
cult
be
if you feel
both.
very strong about it.
Could be both, right? There's seasons, so she could be a senator for a season and then start the cult, or vice versa.
Okay.
Oh, man. It was fun to see how much she lit up when she was talking about that big A advocacy. Like, you could tell she was on an edge that felt like energizing to her. And
And when
cool.
she lit up like that, I could just see her dad over here going, what's next? What's next?
What's next? Oh, so good. All right, I'm looking at my notes. We already talked about that relational infrastructure, how you mentioned it, just the visiting campuses, teaching, chatting, calming, responding kindly to questions. Just being, I feel like she understands the we're on this road together, human to human. And then, yes, we also have titles, and those titles kind of point us to what we're responsible for, or what we're, whatever. But the core is we're connected human to human. It's very different.
I liked her statement where she said people don't leave jobs, they leave leaders. So she understands that. And again, no ego in the way. She really is about service.
Yeah.
I made a note, she gave her individual oxygen practices, but I made a note that her systemic oxygen offer was the key to sustainability is to have supports and good leaders in place. And she lives and breathes that.
She lives and breathes that. She makes that true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How about her answer to, the fact that many people in education right now are feeling like they have to choose between their own well-being and staying, and what can we do to create I can stay and care for my own well-being. I really liked her compassionate retention approach versus a forced retention, and I'm thinking about how many people in that same conversation might be creating little dynamic of guilt or pressure or almost desperation of we need you, that kind of energy, which would fall under that forced retention. Hers, I felt was that compassionate, you matter, what you need matters. How can I support you? We're in partnership. It's just such a different gate she went through to talk about educators making decisions based on what's right for them, but not leaving them hanging.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? How do we create that net?
And again, that's her being in real relationship with people.
Love it.
Yeah, I thought about that listening to her. She's clearly younger than we are, but I thought, I would love to work for her.
Yeah.
Like if I were in education, I would love to work for her.
Yeah.
She's very inspiring.
Yeah. Agreed.
And by the way, every time you kept saying light and bright, I kept picturing a cartoon character. And it finally came to me earlier in this conversation. Do you remember Rainbow Bright?
Sure.
That's what I kept thinking of when you kept talking about the light and bright. I was like, she's kind of rainbow bright. She just spreads all this goodness.
She is rainbow bright. Okay, Mesquite counselors, you got to find some vintage rainbow bright toys to give to Amanda. I love it.
Love it. Love it.
That's my list. Do you have anything else?
The last point that I had, I just really appreciated. Number one, I love how Mesquite refers to having their kids be future ready, career ready,
good.
to include just the social piece and mental health piece, which has clearly worked because they're in good relationship with their families. And I appreciated her pointing out that people in education want families involved. And I know that that's not always how families feel or talk about it. But I was just thinking when she made that point, I think every conference we've been a part of, there have been a panel or a whole track on how to get families involved. Like that is at the core of what educators want. And Mesquite has done such a great job of figuring out how to do that. And it does feel like they're all on the same team and working to have future ready kids and all the things that means. So cheers to Mesquite ISD.
Yeah, it's a special district, and Amanda is such a stunning representation of what that means.
I'm so glad that we were finally able to have her on the podcast and learn from her.
Same. Well, thank you, Chris. A big thanks to Amanda and all the counselors in Mesquite that she supports, and big thanks to Katie. And we have really exciting news that most of y'all have heard, but the Oxygen for Educators podcast is now extending itself into an Oxygen for Educators magazine. The first issue will drop end of March, early April, and be in the hands of 35,000 educators. If you're interested, go to oxygenforeducators.com. Make sure that as an educator, you can sign up for a complimentary subscription. We are delighted to be doing this work with you, and we want you to stay in conversation with us, share people we should interview, share ideas of what we should be covering, and just a huge thanks to everybody.
Thanks, Michelle.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Oxygen for Educators. Please like, share, and follow, and if inclined, leave us a 5-star review so that we can keep making content for you. Let us hear from you if you know someone we should interview or a topic we should cover.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guest and host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any organization. The content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to use their own judgment and seek appropriate professional support when needed. Oxygen for Educators, its host, and production partners are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information shared in this podcast.